Hello? Why is my camera like so fuzzy tonight? It is 1:45 in the morning. How are we doing? I was just like sitting in the parking lot and I was like downloading all this music. I downloaded like Michelle Shock, the Indigo Girl. I'm feeling very like my roots tonight. Bob Dylan. I probably still do, the CD. I should stop downloading all this music and just go find it in my basement. I have all the CDs, the 30th Anniversary Live, and like My Back Pages, and The Girl from the North Country, which is like my mom's all-time favorite Bob Dylan song. And then Blowing in the Wind, Stevie Wonder does that version of it on there. And I was just listening to I like downloaded all this great music. And it was interesting because I did a live stream tonight, and then well, before I did the live stream, I went up because Alex was going to bed, and I was saying goodnight to him. It's very important to me that I always like say goodnight to Alex, kiss him goodnight, and vice versa if I go to bed before him, which never happens. But it's kind of a thing that we've always done, and it's important to us. And I was laying there, and we were just kind of like joking and chatting, and Boo was like curled up real close next to him, and I was just like so happy in the moment, you know. And I said to Alex, like, do you ever like, with your boyfriend or girlfriend or your partner or husband, whatever, do you ever like prod them for like an answer and you already know what they're gonna say and it's gonna disappoint you? And it was interesting to what he said, because he said something different than he always did. So like, I always like tell Alex that I miss him. Like, even if I've been gone for like a half an hour, I'll be like, text him like, I miss you, and he'll be like, you just saw me. You know. And like, I remember like when we first got together, like my ex and I were very much that way, you know, of like texting each other 20 times a day how much we missed each other. And I think part of it is, and I'm not making excuses, but I feel like part of it for Alex is also his understanding of the language. So like, if you say to him like, I miss you, like he takes that literally sometimes because of his learning English as a second language. But like tonight it was really cute, and I said to him, I go, did you miss me today? And he goes, no. And I go, you never miss me. And he goes, no. He goes, because I have you all the time. And I was like, oh my God. And like, he just kind of looked at me real sweet, and he was like rubbing my head, and he was like, you always ask for that. He's like, but you know, you're mine always. And it was like in that moment I was just so happy. And you know, I think that there's all of these self-help books out there, and how to accomplish your wildest dreams, and how to make all your dreams come true. And I believe in that. I preach that on this channel specifically a lot, you know? But it's like, I think that one of the most important things, and this is going to be my message tonight, and this is what I'm going to talk about specifically in this video, is that I think that one of the most important things about accomplishing your dreams and having your life, because I have the most amazing life. I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. That doesn't mean that stuff doesn't happen to me, but I have an amazing life, you know? And I think that one of the tricks to knowing how to have an amazing life and how to be truly happy is to know what it will look like when you get there. Because it's like, if you're going on a road trip and you said, well, I'm going to stop by this tree in the desert, that's my destination. Well, what does the tree look like? I don't know, just some tree. Nobody would know if they ever came to this tree in the desert, right? Is it that tree? Is it that tree? Is it that tree? And I think that's what a lot of us do in life, you know, is that we kind of drive through this desert of life going, am I there yet? Am I happy? Am I happy? And we're very quick to know when we're not happy, you know, to know that like, oh, I'm sad because this sad, tragic event happened in my life, or I'm not happy yet because I don't have my dream job, which I might not ever have. Like, those are huge blessings, you know, or that woman won the lottery of $700 million, I didn't, so I'll never be happy like that. Or so-and-so's got a boyfriend or a husband or a wife, or, you know, and I'll never have that. Or I don't have it now, and I did have, you know, we always look at what we don't have to judge our happiness instead of defining what happiness would look like if we had it. And I think that what I realized today was, like, I was thinking a lot about like I'm in the process of cleaning my condo out, because when we moved in there, like, I didn't get rid of a lot of my mom's stuff. I just moved it to the basement. And I've talked a lot about that on here, about how, like, Alex really wants me to get rid of the stuff in the basement. And it was like, I just kind of moved our stuff in. So, like, a lot of the furniture, which I don't want to get rid of because it's beautiful furniture, but a lot of the furniture, you know, a lot of the artwork is hers, and then the drawers I just dumped a lot out of and just put my stuff in it, but like I didn't really like ever keep order to it. And I want my house to be orderly. I want it to be smell good constantly, good candles, and be bohemian and have fresh flowers and record player playing, which my mom always had a record player playing, and you know, and like, and I looked around and I was like, but you have that, you know, like you're always playing music and you're always adding music to your iTunes, and you know, you always just wanted to be this person that wore cut-off jean shorts and a t-shirt, and now you do that, and you know, like Birkenstock sandals and a hat, and you carry a backpack, and you always just have like a bottle of water and a good book in it, you know, and you know, you kind of just live spontaneously, and you know, you set up these coaching programs for people that you kind of just lucked into that, and you know, you have this amazing life of making these videos and interacting with these wonderful people that share their lives with you, and you get to write full-time, and you've published a book, and you just get to read and listen to all, I mean, I have an amazing life, right? But if you ask me most days, I would say, well, I wish this, or I wish I could travel more, I just got back from a trip to Miami, you know, I mean, I have an amazing life. And I think that the trick to being truly happy is setting very strict parameters for yourself and knowing when you get there, you know. And if you have a list of 10 things of what it will look like, yeah, I mean, have a list of dream things, you know, big, cute, like I want to own a house, a 5-bedroom mansion. Okay, great. So a lot of us might want that, or my husband would never want that. He wants a penthouse, you know, in Miami. Well, we might never have a penthouse, but that doesn't mean that we're not happy. You know, that doesn't mean that we don't go to bed at night and sleep a great sleep and have great meals. And you know, it's like, it was interesting because my husband loves miso soup. That's like one of his favorite things ever, and he gets it like a lot. And they must have ordered it for lunch today, because he ended up going out with his boss, who's like one of his best friends, for dinner tonight. And they went to Ruth Chris, and they like split some wine, split a bottle of wine, and then they have like a salad and like bruschetta. He loves bruschetta, and they split a fillet. And they do this like every Wednesday night, because that's the day that he works with her. And I like opened the refrigerator, and there was like this huge container of miso soup in there. And I thought, you know, like, we eat great food, you know, like today I had like hummus and black bean stuff, and there is a bug down on the floor. And I had fresh mango, and you know, just drank great water today and had great coffee. And it's like those little things just make me so happy and so full of life. And just seeing, you know, Boo Radley was just like standing outside tonight. He was just looking around, like every little sound that he heard, like you know, it's just, when do you know that you're happy, you know? Or is it something that you're constantly trying to get to? And for those of us that won't, did you see that bug go up? Okay, that's what's been, and those of us that won't acknowledge when we're there, because for a lot of us that aren't just naturally happy and full of life on a daily basis, we're constantly looking at what we don't have, or what we want more of or need. I don't need anything. My life is so full right now. I'm so thankful for the life I have, you know? So one of the things that I would encourage you to do, and I think I'm going to do this, you know, on top of the dream project that we talked about a couple weeks ago, you know, is writing down what happy would look like for you. You know, and I mean, does that mean you being in a relationship? If you're not in a relationship, can you still be happy? Sure. You know, do you have friends that you go out to dinner with, and are you social? Are you active? Or maybe you don't want to be social. Maybe, you know, you want to be by yourself a lot. It's a fine edge for me, because I really enjoy seeing my friends, but at the same time, I really enjoy my time alone too. But then if I spend too much time alone, I get very lonely. So it's like, you know, this double-edged sword for me is what I meant to say, not fine-edged sword. But anyway, what are the things that would make you happy? You know, when you see people and you think, oh, that person is so cool, what is it? Is it like, I'm always cooled out. Like, I always think people are cool about the small things. Like, when I go to people's houses and they have like local art, or they frame their kids' pictures, or they're like, you want me to make some tea, and they make me like fresh leaf tea and with honey and cream, and they have all of it. Like, I think that shit is so cool. And they'll put on some album of something that I've never heard, and they'll be like, oh, I just got this at the, you know, the thrift store, and I just wanted it, you know, and it's like the flash soundtrack, and they're just so themselves. That is who I yearn to be, is that weirdo inside that really is just always myself. You know, come over to my house, have a cup of tea and honey, and let's play an album, you know, like Free to Be You and Me. Like, I have that album because I had it as a kid, and you know, let's open the windows and get some fresh air moving around and light 10 candles. And you know, my husband is so good at that. Like, it's interesting because somebody commented on a video that he was in and said that he was really superficial. And it's interesting because Alex is like, he loves like labels. Like, he loves really nice things. Like, he would love to have a full set of Louis Vuitton luggage and, you know, like, I don't know, a pair of Louis Vuitton running shoes or something, you know? But like, he doesn't need it at the same time. Like, I know people that define themselves by that, but like, then he'll surprise me, and like, his best friend will come over, well, his best friend in Indianapolis will come over, and they'll be like having a glass of red wine and like watching a movie, and he'll have like every candle in the house lit, and he'll put like candles in the fireplace, and then he'll have made like popcorn, and he's just like so down to earth with that stuff. And then they're like, what are you watching? Oh, we're watching, you know, we download, or we rented this movie or downloaded this movie or whatever, you know? And like, he's very much like, if we're at his mom's house, be like, let's have a dance contest with the kids or something, you know? And he's always just like in that moment, and he really pushes me to be like what's in my heart. Like, he loves music and he loves to dance, and he'll dance anywhere, you know, just like randomly anywhere. Last year, when was it this last March, or was it the year before? I can't remember. I think it was the year before that Maya, his cousin, met us there. And she's the same way. And the two of them together are hilarious. And we went to this restaurant, and it was one of the ones on Ocean Drive that's just on the street. And they had this like guy playing like Spanish guitar, and then he had like, there was this woman singer, and then they had like this little like drummer behind there, and they were playing music, and it was great, but like nobody was paying any attention to them, really. They were just like, the music was incredible, but nobody was paying attention about it. And literally, Maya didn't even say like, I'm gonna go dance. She just got up and went over right in front of where they were playing and started dancing, salsa dancing. And then she was like, Alex, Alex, and then like Alex came up and they started salsa dancing, and people were clapping for them and stuff. And it's like, his mom is so like that too. It was like, he went to this party recently for his best friend, and she has a pool at her house, and it's this gorgeous backyard, and his mom wanted to swim so bad, and the kids were swimming, and she didn't bring her swimsuit, and so she acted like she fell in the pool, and then she swam in her clothes. And he was like, it was so embarrassing. I was like, Alex, I go, it was having so much fun. He showed me these videos, and she just was having a blast. And it's like, his mom is so happy. She is so full of life all the time on very little. I mean, she's not a wealthy woman. She's not poor, but she's not a wealthy woman by any means. And but she's so full of life, you know? She's so full of making these great meals and having dinner with all of her kids and watching her grandkids dance and play out in the backyard. She loves that, you know? And she goes to every birthday party, every bridal shower, she's one of the most social people I've ever met in my entire life. And, you know, it's like, I think that's just what life is so about, you know? It's participating in life. And even if you never see a person and you don't have a friend, because I get so many messages from people that say, Peter, I love your message, but I don't have anybody in my life. My family is all gone. You know, I don't have really any friends except for my coworkers. That doesn't mean you can't live a full life, you know? Do a movie marathon. Like, I've been dying all year long to watch all the Star Wars movies because I've only seen the first one, and that was like years ago, right? Years ago, it was the year that it came out. I went and saw it with my dad, I remember. And so 76, I think it came out in. I don't know. Somebody can correct me below. And I was 4, and it came out. My God. How do I remember that? But, you know, I've wanted to watch all those movies. It's like Alex, a couple years ago for Christmas, bought me all of the Batman movies, and we watched them all back to back, like on New Year's Day. And it's like, you know, you can do that by yourself. You can like make a homemade pizza, or try a new recipe, or go out and say every day for a week I'm going to get a food from a new restaurant carry out that I've never had before. You don't have to eat in a restaurant by yourself, but I've learned to love eating in restaurants by myself. I love it. I take a book, or I just get on my phone. I don't care. I have a hard time with like super dressy restaurants, but even with that, I don't mind anymore, you know? But you don't miss out on the, you know, go to festivals if you want to by yourself. I know so many people. My neighbor, she got a ticket to go to this music festival at the Speedway here, and we were there too, and I was like, I didn't know that you were there. And she's like, yeah, I got a ticket at the last minute. Somebody just gave me a ticket. And I go, oh, did you go with your friends? And she goes, no, I just drove down there by myself and went. And I said, you did? And she was like, yeah, I had a blast. It was so much fun. I just danced by myself, and when I was ready to go, I was ready to go. And you don't have to have 50 people in your life to be happy. You can be completely alone and have an amazing life, you know? I've known a lot of drifters that go from town to town and live at one place for a year and move, and they're very happy, you know? And I had this art teacher when I was in my first year of college. I wonder what happened to her. Her name was Suzanne Siegel. She was from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then I think she moved to Santa Barbara. If anybody out there knows her, tell her Peter said hi, and I'm looking her up, because I love Suzanne Siegel, and she taught me so much about life. And I will never forget, there were these two girls in my I took drawing one from her. I was horrible. But she taught us through this book called Drawing from the Left Side of the Brain, or Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain, Drawing from the Left Side of the Brain, I think it was called. And I remember she lived over by where the art school was, in the basement of this house. And she was totally a hippie. I mean, long red hair and just tons of beads and just, you know, hippie skirts, and just dressed so cool. I mean, I just was digging it, you know, and that was at the midst of me having long hair and hair. I was a hippie. I was totally a hippie. And I loved her. And she just was so cool. We would just sit there after class, and just, Suzanne tell us more stories, and she would tell us all these stories about lovers that she had had. And, you know, like, she was a story, you know, she was a character, and she lived a life, and she just was so cool. And I remember she had me and these two girls over to her house for tea, and she took us like down this little itty-bitty staircase into the basement, okay, that was like such a shithole. I bet she didn't pay more than $100 to rent this place out. It was like this 5-bedroom house that probably 8 people were living in, and she was in this little part in the basement, and she had taken like those tapestries and hung them up to make this bedroom, and she had us in there, and she had like 3 rooms made out of these tapestries where she had hung walls. And she we had like sat in her bed, had like literally like 30 pillows, you know, like all those Himalayan pillows and fabric pillows, and she had a quilt she had made herself, and we all sat on the bed, and she made us tea, and she like told us stories, and she was going to read our tea leaves, but I don't think she ever did. And it just was the coolest moment. Like, I look back on that, and I just think like, and I almost didn't go. I was like, I don't really know her. I mean, and I remember later, years later, she sent me these postcards in the mail, because she herself was an artist, and she would sell her work. She made postcards, and her postcards were gorgeous. And I got a postcard from her in the mail. I'll never forget. She was like in Santa Barbara or Michigan, I think, maybe, teaching. And we just kind of lost track of each other, you know? And she really inspired my soul to just live free. And she loved music. And I remember being in there, and she had all these pictures of, you know, different Buddhist things sitting around. And she just was so free, you know, intellectually, sexually. Not that I ever experienced that with her, but she just would talk about, I mean, she wouldn't talk about getting laid. She talked about sexual fluidity before it was cool to talk about it. You know, she just was an open spirit, no judgment whatsoever. And she really impacted me. You know, there's this book I remember. Okay, so people ask me a lot about a self-help book that really impacted my life, and Magic by Rhonda Byrne is one of them. And one of the exercises in there is that you have to write a letter to somebody that really profoundly impacted your life and thank them. And at the time, I wrote a letter to my Uncle Dave, because he's very much a silent soul. But I've learned so much from him in life about how to just deal with crisis and set boundaries with people, and he's just such a cool guy. But I think, you know, Suzanne would also be one of those people for me that I learned so much about life from, and just how to just experience the world, you know? I think I looked her up on Facebook like a couple years ago and I couldn't find her. And, you know, that's the sad thing about life. And when you're younger, you don't really believe that. When people say to you, like, well, you know, you won't be friends with these people 5 years from now. You're like, no, they'll be in my life forever. And then time happens and people move and you say, we'll stay in contact. And you do for a little while, and then you lose track and you make new friends and they make new friends and they stop coming home, and then they stop calling home, and they have a new home. And then sooner or later, it's been 10 years and you haven't seen somebody, and then it's 20 years. And then you're like, whatever happened to them, you know? And that's kind of life. And I think that's why you have to remember people, and remember that those moments that we share with people are what define happiness. Those are the moments, you know. And even in the saddest moments, like going through my mom's funeral and the planning of the funeral and driving around with my friends listening to my mom's favorite music and crying and laughing and all that kind of stuff, you know, was just, it just, you know, even the moment when I'll never forget, like my Aunt Kathy, so many people brought food over to my aunt's house afterwards because she had like this, you know, like gathering at her house after the funeral, my mom's funeral. And I remember my dad came with my stepmom. Did Debbie come to that? I don't know if she did. I don't think maybe she didn't. But my dad got to see all of these people that he hadn't seen in years and years and years. And as much as my parents didn't get along, you know, like, my mom loved my dad's story time and his jokes, and my dad is one of the coolest people in the world, and I just kind of had this moment where I was like, she would really like this, you know, she would like all these people listening to him telling stories, and all these people here because of her, you know, and, I think she would have, I don't know. I think she would have said, you know, God, he's so funny, but he's kind of showboating a little bit. Maybe this isn't the time. My mom could be a little judgmental, you know, she could kind of put somebody in their place. But I remember I stayed for a while, and then my friend Liz had to leave because it was she and I there. And I went inside and I got one of those big Ziploc bags. I was just ready to get home. I was so tired. And, you know, when it's done, you know. And it's interesting, the planning of funerals, because it's kind of like this thing that we concoct in society to keep us busy, you know, until the funeral, the planning of it, the people flying in, the phone calls, all that kind of stuff. But the moment that it's over, it's over. It's done. And then you don't really know what to do with yourself. And that's really hard. The week or two after the funeral, for me, was the hardest. And, you know, all these people that said, oh, I'll call you next week and we'll have dinner and we'll have lunch, and no, never heard. I haven't heard from them since. I still haven't heard from them, you know, some of them. All these people that promised me, that had been around my mom for months, oh, you know, you're going to still hear from them. I haven't heard from them. I don't know where they're at. And that's okay. I don't blame them for that. They had their own lives they had to go on with, you know, but I could have reached out to them too. But I went inside, and I remember there were all these plates of, like, cubes of cheese, which I love. God, I could just eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner cheese. I love it. And all these cookies, these homemade cookies. And I went in there, and those little wrap sandwiches, and I had this 2 Ziploc bags, and in one of them I put, like, veggies, all these veggies, and I love olives. And those wrap sandwiches, and in the other bag, I put probably, I'm not even lying to you, 40 or 50 cookies. And then, like, I filled it with cookies and cheese. Just tons of cheese. I mean, these 2 Ziploc bags are, like, filled, right? And I went home, and I got a fountain pop on the way home. And I changed into my pajamas, and I sat on the couch, and I just was, like, so numb. This is a true story, okay? I, looking back, think maybe it was a moment of my mother being like, I'm there with you. But that wasn't a time that I wanted my mom to be with me. I was ready for it just to kind of be done. And I turned on the TV, and honest to God, it came on, and it was Annie Hall, and it was that's one of my mom's all-time favorite movies. And I was like, I can't do this. And I remember I switched it, and the next channel, it was just starting on Lifetime Movie Network, and it was a true story of the Judds, Love Can Build a Bridge. And I watched that movie, Love Can Build a Bridge, about Naomi and Winona Judd, and bawled my eyes out about those two, and ate my fill of cheese and cookies and those little sandwiches. Oh my God. I did. That's how I grieved that night. And it was so good for me, you know, and I went to bed and I crashed. I just crashed so hard. But, you know, like, even I look back on that, and that's like, you would think that was a really sad moment, but like, I kind of look back on that moment with some fondness, you know, that like, watching that movie and eating that crap, and like, whatever moment you're given in life, whether it's sad or whether it's happy, you know, make sure that that memory is going to be memorable. And I think that's what the real trick to life is really enjoying every moment. You know, it's like Suzanne living in this basement with cement floors and piping, making it into this fantastic, magical kingdom of pillows and, you know, tapestries that I just remember looking at that thinking, God, I want this room, you know? And I think that's the trick to life, is making the most of every moment, of every circumstance, of everywhere you are. I just think that's really what it's about, you know, and defining your happiness so that when you get there, you know, I'm happy. Like, I'm okay with where I'm at. Like, I'm okay, you know, and I'm so happy right now in the moment. And recently, and it scares me sometimes when I have these moments, because I think, oh my God, am I going to die? Like, I just had this most wonderful moment. Is it over? You know, like, I sometimes have these weird panicky moments, but I've had more and more of them recently, and maybe I'm just waking up, you know, or waking up. Maybe I'm just having this awakening of the mind and spirit where I'm like more clear-headed. And so when I'm having these moments, like standing in the grass or watching Boo Radley, like, notice the sounds, or laying in bed with my husband, or at Dogie's restaurant in Miami, or, you know, hearing a really great song, maybe I'm having those moments of awakening where I'm just realizing I'm happy. And that's good. You know, I'm excited about that, because then that is just going to enrich my life. And I want the same thing for you guys as well, you know? So start defining what happy will look like for you, so you know when you get there, it's there. And start making every moment memorable, because I'm going to do the same. Because I want to have those moments where I stop and I pause, like right now, making this video, and I think, God, I'm really happy. And I'm really happy right now. So I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.